What's going on, everyone? Is the Derf, and in today's video we're going through the basics of build making. Yes, I know I'm the build guy, so to speak. You guys check out my builds, let me know how you guys tweak my builds and all those things, but today we're going to start going through what I would consider to be the basics of building, and that is going through each and every one of the supers, finding out which one at its base value, face value even, actually gives you the best damage. So what I'm going to do for this video is I'm going to go through Warlock Supers on the Prismatic subclass. We're going to go through each one and we're going to damage test them without any kinds of buffs, any kinds of add-ons, or help of any kind. We're going to find out if you know what super actually gives you the most base damage by itself and only by itself, because most people gloss over the super. We're making grenade builds, we're making melee spam builds, we're making ability spam builds. A lot of that does kind of revolve around the super, but people don't often think of the super as the base for it. But think about it, when you make your build first, the super is the first thing that you think of. But you pick one and you move on and you don't really think about it again. Well, we're going to go right to the basics and we're going to start with the super, and we're going to go through and find out what super actually has the most damage per cast for each of the options for Prismatic Warlock. So if you've been looking for a decent damage test video, I'm going to break it down, all 5 of them. They're going to be controlled. I'm going to do them at a specific difficulty and we're going to talk about it, and let's see if the super you thought was the most powerful is actually the most powerful when it comes down to the numbers. So hopefully you guys like the video. Like and subscribe for more content. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let's get it going. Before we get started, it's important to note I'm going to be going into the shooting range at a -30 power delta, which means anything that you see in these tests will be even stronger if you run Grandmaster or even Master level activities, or even some raids, to be quite honest with you, since the power deltas are all different in the given activities. This test is going to be on Stormtrance. Now, I will go through this every single super so you guys can see the proof before we do the testing, but I'm not running any aspects, I'm not running any fragments, and my super is at a cool 100, which means I'm not going to get any bonus damage from being over 100. Theoretically, this test will work even if the super is at 0. I just have it at 100 so you guys can see this no matter what super we're using, so you guys have a base level understanding. So this is going to be our test with Stormtrance as our super. You can see I've got a special ammo weapon with no rounds in it, so that way when the super ends, there's no possible way that I can fire a weapon and get some damage in that will affect what the test ultimately comes out to. So let's get started. All right, so there you have it. Our test for the Stormtrance Super gives us about 445 DPS and maxed out at 5,701 damage. Now, this is just a base level for where the super is going to be. When you test it, you might be slightly lower, you might be slightly higher, but we're going to call it 5701 just for the sheer baseline of this test. So let's move on to the next super. Our next super is going to be Winter's Wrath, the Stasis Super. As you can see, we've got the special ammo weapon with no rounds loaded and none available. And I've got the scoreboard reset to 0s, so let's see where this puts us. So you see we averaged 475 DPS and our super damage came out to 6,450. So let's get on to the next one. Our next test is going to be on Song of Flame, the Solar Super. As you can see, I've got the special ammo weapon with no rounds loaded. I've got the scoreboard reset to zeros, so let's see what happens. We're going to let Carl cool down here. And you can see this super averaged 336 DPS and topped out at 6,282. So let's go on to the next one. Our next test is going to be on Novabomb Cataclysm, the Void Super. As you can see, I've got a special ammo weapon with no rounds loaded. And I've got our scoreboard reset to zeros. So let's see what happens here. So while this was an instant burst DPS super that topped out at 4150, that is all that it topped out at, was 4150. So let's move on to the final one. So our final test here is going to be on Needlestorm, the Strand Super. I've got the special ammo weapon equipped. I got our scoreboard to zeros. So let's see what happens. So you can see here, the super topped out at 4,437 in terms of total damage with an average DPS of 3,547. So in fifth place with the highest DPS but lowest overall total damage, we've got Novabomb coming in at 4,150. Coming in fifth place is Needlestorm. DPS capped out at 3,547, but the overall damage was 4,437. Coming in at third place, we have Stormtrance. Average DPS was about 445, but the overall damage was 5,701. Coming in at second place, we have Song of Flame. Average DPS was 336, but the overall damage hit over 6,000 at 6,282. Coming in at first place at arguably the most surprising showing, even to me when I did this initially, we have Winter's Wrath, 475 average DPS with an overall damage of 6,450. So what does it all mean? I feel like the head of the CIA in Burn After Reading. What does it all mean? What do we learn? Well, if you're like me, some of the supers that I thought were some of the best supers to use for just pure DPS actually ranked a little bit lower on the list. But where do you fall? Were you surprised that Novabomb was at the bottom? Were you surprised that Stormtrance was in the middle? Were you surprised that Winter's Wrath finished all the way at the top for overall damage? There's other factors to consider here. Number one is single target damage versus, being able to burn through multiple enemies. Obviously, roaming supers versus instant DPS supers are two kind of different things. But when we're talking about boss damage, let's just use that as a baseline. Boss damage is boss damage. When the boss is in front of you and you've got a super equipped, which super is actually hitting the hardest when it's all said and done? Some of these numbers I wasn't completely surprised at, but Song of Flame being second to Winter's Wrath is not something that most people probably even think of when it comes to instant burst or overall damage supers. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you guys want more damage testing like this, also let me know in the comments, and I will do other things, other abilities to help you guys learn more about your abilities. I will see you guys next time. Thanks as always for your support. Take care.